Good evening and welcome. Who makes you cozy like a warm mug of hot chocolate, but will throw you under the bus in the office to take your Christmas bonus off you? It's the lads from the ASTV American Scouser TV Thursday night podcast, the show that never starts on time or does anything technically correct, but we're still the best ones. We're the handsomest and we're the most entertaining of our fantastic ASTV content. We're the most entertaining. We're joined by Brian and Trevor as usual. Brian, how are you?
Doing great.
Trevor, how are you?
Fantastic.
I mean, it's been a good week so far. So we have a lot to talk about, but not maybe a lot of topics. But here's what we're going to talk about tonight is right back where we started, the emergence of Conor Bradley in the right back position for Liverpool. He's been absolutely fantastic. Dar win some, Dar lose some, because that guy should be the top scorer in Europe if he could just convert all those posts and crossbars into goals. And then we'll look forward to the game against Arsenal, which should be a good, entertaining game this coming weekend. But let's start with our main squeeze this week. He's been absolutely phenomenal. Conor Bradley. I mean, are there enough superlatives for the kid, Brian? He's been given a chance, and he's the absolute poster boy for taking a chance between two hands and not letting it go for love nor money.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, the kid's basically is flying at the moment. I mean, listen to Klopp's interview where he said that Pep's been wanting to play him for the past like two or three seasons now. I mean, even as a kid, he wanted to play him. So, I mean, he's got everything that you would want out of a right back, and it looks like that we're playing as a more traditional right back role with him in that position. You didn't see the inverted thing right there that you see with Trent. You just saw him actually play as a right back, actually run and actually go one-on-one quite a few times in that match against Chelsea right there, win his duels. I mean, what more can you ask? I mean, 2 assists, a goal. I mean, kids killing it.
Trevor, the Discord channel had a lot of discussion about the other day, among other things. But one of the things was it's a point Timuchin brings up constantly is that when he was on the field and Gomez was on the field, we played almost like we had two traditional fullbacks, which meant the width could come from the fullbacks, which allowed everybody in the attack then to move around and get tight into the middle if they needed to get tight into the middle, and then go wide if they needed to go wide. It certainly points to a good future going forward because we had worried about that right back spot for such a long time when Trent wasn't there, didn't we?
Yeah, because on the left, you always kind of had that Simicast cover for Robbo, but Trent really never had anybody but kind of we'll just throw Gomez over there, or we'll throw Milner over there, and we'll kind of just piecemeal it. Now you have a kid, and granted it's a small sample size, so I'm not going to go too overboard, but everything that we've seen from him from these two performances, and I'd say these are like performances. This is something that gets you on the team with more and more regularity. And if he's just instantly dropped off the second Trent comes back full time, I think that'd be a shame, because he really has shown, like you said, being able to provide that width. And the guy I think that's benefited the most of it, especially with Endo being out of the picture right now, is McAllister, because he doesn't have to worry about those responsibilities doing the whole Hendo track back, and kind of being that he can just kind of be in the middle, and he can kind of use those passing lanes that are being created by these guys kind of staying at home a lot of times to not be the best version of himself. And that we've just seen what he's done in terms of passing and tackling, and what Bradley's done, being able to kind of just give him that space and then just work in where he's supposed to be. It's been absolutely phenomenal.
Brian, Alan says there he didn't know that Conor Bradley had 13 international caps for Northern Ireland before he made his debut for Liverpool. That's an indication that is a mature-headed young soccer player, really, isn't it? To be able to play international football and get that many caps already before he's made his top league debut with his club team. It really tells us, apart from the stupid facial hair on his chin that he needs to sort out, and the haircut probably, but the kid just looks like he knows what he wants from life and from the game, and he's determined to go get it.
Yeah, he showed the maturity right there with his marking. With his marking in the Chelsea match. I mean, you saw Mudryk right there go through, who's supposedly one of the fastest players in the league right there, and he marked him with no issues. I mean, he stayed on him like like white on rice, that whole old saying right there. I mean, that he had. So I mean, you have to say. I mean, it takes. I know a lot of players like start off in that position right there. Steven Gerrard started back as a full back before he came to moved up to the midfield and also, but you have to say that with the maturity level that he was playing with, staying in the marking, actually making runs, backtracking, covering things that we've wanted Trent to do. I mean, hate to bash Trent on something, things that we complained that Trent doesn't do. I mean, he did. I mean, so it's like it was almost like a breath of fresh air of seeing a player do that. I think really the last one that we saw right back that actually played like that was probably Nathaniel Klein. Probably was the last one when that actually played that type of role. I mean, so yeah, I think that he's got a big head on his shoulder right there. So let's hopefully just keep him so he's level and down to earth right there, and gets that shaving that the beard and thing that he's got right there, so he's old enough to grow the beard thing, and then yeah.
Alan with a good but old dad joke, suitable for this show, I have to say, to be fair. Well, Trevor, here is my fear, because I was thankfully to some degree alive to see the debut of Rob Jones playing against United, and did much the same thing to, at the time, probably one of the best players in the league, Ryan Giggs. Put him in his pocket in the game against Manchester United on his debut. Looked like the future of the Liverpool right back position, and then got horrifically injured in not a bad injury per se, but a chronic one that he could never shake off, and destroyed his career before he even got a chance to start. Klopp has been fairly clever with the young players, but he does have a tendency to keep players in form on the field, regardless of whether they need it or not. Should we be worried that Conor Bradley might meet that fate? Or is it the case that Klopp and that he wants to bequeath a team of good players to the next manager, so he's going to be really sensible about players like Conor Bradley?
Yeah, it'll just be interesting to see in the next month or so, as the players start to trickle back, what he does with them. If he gives him more starts, if we ever see him just straight up deploy Trent in a midfield role and play them both at the same time. I don't know if that's ever going to be in the cards, at least for this year, but that's something to watch. In terms of possibly burning him out, I don't think it's going to be something. I think this is just a whirlwind of positive circumstances where he came in during an injury where we had a lot of guys out and a lot of people just moving around, and he made the most of an opportunity, and it just gives us nothing but good options going forward. I don't necessarily see him overtaking, as good as he's been. I don't see him overtaking Trent just based on 2 games. No matter how well he fits what we currently have in that regard, there's just, it gives you a lot of flexibility now. You don't always have to just go, well, if player A is out, just throw Gomez over there. That you kind of have now this kid in your back pocket where if Trent does go down for 2 or 3 games, which isn't out of the realm of possibility in March, you know that you have this kid that can step up and come in. And even if he isn't getting regular minutes, he's up to the task when called upon. And that is, we've had those one hit, like you brought Rob Jones. There's been plenty of guys a guy that just recently popped back up in football, like Jordan Ibe. There's guys that have been like one game wonders, and you're going, oh, wow, this kid is the next, whatever. And they just kind of fizzle out. I don't think Bradley, just from the way he's played, because there's a lot of guys that are very just either super flashy or anything. Yes, he's got a goal, he's got an assist, but as Brian was saying, he goes in, he made a ton of tackles. He went in and his marking was great. So it's not just him wanting to bomb forward and just get 70 crosses in. He was good in both facets of what was asked of him. So I think when he does get called upon down the road, we're not going to have to worry about that flash in the pan type of deal with him.
Brian, let's go through the names. Curtis Jones, Harvey Elliott, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Conor Bradley now, Ben Doak before he unfortunately, I think he's injured, isn't he? Before he got injured. Bobby Clark, straight into the central midfield. If you are one of the players, we've talked a little bit about having that whole new setup now where the youth and academy players can see the first team. But if you're an under-23 Liverpool player, looking at all of these young players, not just getting 5 minutes in the cup, they're starting important league games against clubs that have traditionally been our biggest rivals, and they're being trusted with those responsibilities. You must be sitting there thinking to yourself, if I put my time in and keep my nose clean and make sure I'm doing the work, I'm next.
There's more behind, though. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you have Louis Kumas right there. You have Dan's. You have the Audi. I mean, you definitely have a whole lineup in there. So the U18s and the U21s right now who are definitely. I mean, not to mention Owen Beck right there. I mean, you have McConnell. I mean, Chambers. I mean, these kids. I mean, you have academy worth of star-studded players. I mean, will they probably all go there eventually play for us? Probably not. But I mean, you've got a lineup of clear professionals right there who are going to go there and take the leagues by storm right there by how they're already playing. I mean, we talked about it right there a little bit right there on with Kazi and stuff like that a couple of nights ago on there. That the academy right there is meant to go there to make revenue. That's what the whole entire part of it is. You get the 1 gem or 2 gems out of it, but for the most part, right there, you're making money off these players right there to keep the whole process going. But I mean, if I was a young player and I saw what Klopp is doing, and I think that what you're going to probably see the next manager doing, I think that you've got to say, hey, I've got a shot. I've got a shot in either go there playing for Liverpool, or I got a shot in this league right there because of what this academy now has made a name for itself with putting these players out like that.
Trevor, good point by Alan here, but here's the point I want to bring back up. Bradley could create a problem only a new midfield system can solve. But right now he's undroppable and fully expects Trent to start this weekend. But it is true, isn't it? Bickler is correct. Conor Bradley emerging, if he maintains that level, he really does create a problem for Klopp for who he's A, going to play at right back, and B, who he's going to play in midfield, and what the implications are for both McAllister and Endo with how important Trent is to the system.
Yeah, frankly, I don't see that change coming in what has now essentially become a lame duck period. As progressive as he's been with using these players to the best of their abilities, I think it's something that's probably going to come with the next regime. But I think Klopp is going to do his best to put all these guys in the proverbial shop window to the new manager of, hey, this is what you have. Now you can set it up however you see fit, but these are the things that you have. These are the guys, all of their weaknesses and strengths are on the table. You know everything that they have, so you can utilize them to the best of your ability coming in. And that's gonna be huge. My big thing with using the academy players is Brian was talking about them being kind of revenue generators, but it also is money savers for us as the club, because you get guys like Bradley and Kwanzaa now. Now you don't got to go spend $60 million on a center back. You don't got to go pay 25 for a cover at right back. You kind of have that money to now go spend elsewhere. So God forbid we have to throw a crap ton of money at a Mo replacement. Say he decides to depart. There's lots of positives with a strong academy, and it shows. Yeah, like I was saying, it's showing the new manager coming in what he has, but it's also giving all of these kids chances to show what they can. So maybe they go get that Dominic Solanke move. They get a team to come in knowing that we've prepared them correctly. So, if we're going to go spend probably a bit more than market value for a kid, we at least get somebody that is prepared and is going to be able to come into a new team and not completely crap themselves.
Brian, let's expand our universes a wee bit. Looking at what Alan said about Chelsea modifying their squad, not in the same fashion, but with the same impetus as Liverpool, and clearly not getting it right. I was listening to the Grumpy Old Man podcast on Sirius this morning on the way to work. It's mercifully a short drive, so we didn't have to listen too much to Tommy Smith and Liverpool and Rodney Marsh. Why don't you tell me your opinion, Tommy? But they did make a good point. For Chelsea, like if everything looked like it was going right for Liverpool, it looks like an absolute disaster for Chelsea, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they look like a group of individuals out there. I mean, it's really sad. I mean, because you saw two players that that we were clearly linked to out there with Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo. I mean, that we were both like, okay, these are going to be almost the point of they're going to be Liverpool players. They're going to be Liverpool players, and and you just saw this a shell. I mean, there was no service to Palmer. I mean, there was Sterling came up there basically just ran around and did Sterling things that he normally does. I mean, it's no end product at all through there. But yeah, I mean, it's a totally big difference. I mean, as far as like of the sides, I just want to kind of go just a second right there. You were talking about the formations changed off of what was said earlier. So I mean, I do see that our side right there could do with the next manager to go to a formation change, where you could actually have Conor Bradley and Trent on the pitch at the same time. I mean, a 4-2-3-1 right there actually goes and puts Trent back there in that holding position where he can be free, and you would still have Conor on that side too, on that as a right back. So I do think that we do have a lot of pieces to play with, and I think the manager right there has to be that whoever is coming in there has to be going there basically rubbing his hands, saying, look at the squad I've alredy gained. Even if we do lose Mo, like Trevor was saying, we still got enough of it right here to actually, it's still a top 4 side easily. I mean, if not a side that can challenge for the championship next year, just by all the little pieces that we already have.
Trevor, if you are Caicedo or you are Fernandez or even Leiva to an extent, are you regretting your choice now? And then on the flip side of that, did we get lucky in not getting them, or are they just mismanaged right now?
Yeah, I think they'll get through this first season and look at their bank account, and I think they'll just be fine. But when they go in next season and they see that Chelsea is still reaching their high water mark with this current roster construction of like 6th or 7th, and they still see Liverpool in the top 4, and they're probably going to be a bit contemplative about the decisions they've made. I don't think it's necessarily something where we dodged a bullet but it is something where they've kind of went into a system where they just had an ownership group and just a coaching carousel that threw a bunch of shit at the wall and didn't even hope. They just wished that something stuck. They just, anytime a guy was talked about in any facet, Arsenal wants this guy. Yeah, well, we'll just outbid them by 15 million in the Mudryk case. Or, Liverpool's about to break the young player transfer record or the overall transfer record for both Caicedo and Fernandes. Nah, fuck that. We're going to go get both of them, and we're not going to be able to do anything with either of them because the way we play does not constitute using those players to the best of their abilities, which is like, they're defensive midfielders, but we have a bunch of attacking midfielders who will do nothing to complement them. So they're just going to monkey see, monkey do and go forward all the time and leave tons of gaps. For Fernandes, for a guy that the most I saw of him was in the Champions League with Benfica and then the World Cup. And that guy rarely crossed the midfield line. And now you see him taking pot shots outside the box, and you're like, why is this guy this far forward? It's because there's no structure to what they do. And so, yeah, guys that are like, this guy had this reputation. Reputations go out the window when you're asked to do something outside of what that reputation precedes you with. You have no rhyme or reason to how you're deployed, and it's just a mess. I think it would have been better if they ended up, but it is very easy to say, yeah, this is an expenditure not worth taking, seeing how they're floundering at Chelsea.
Brian, we could talk about Chelsea not hitting the mark, but when it comes to not hitting the mark, I think right now nobody does it as well as this guy here. Darwin Nunez with his ponytail and his number 9. We talked just before we
that
came
exact
on
pose is going to end up as a statue.
That's going to be exactly what a statue is, right beside the Shankly statue. When the rules change and you get a half a point for hitting the bar, and then we win every trophy under the sun. But what I was going to ask is, Brian, we talked before we went on air, Nunez gives us so many other things. If there are 4 elements to being a forward, he gives us 3 of them and gives those 3 of them quite well. But still, if you're going to be the number 9 at Liverpool, that 4th pillar, that getting the goals from pretty much any shot you get, that is so important. And if he wasn't doing the other things, he'd be under the cosh right now, wouldn't he?
Sorry, my technical difficulties came through. Lost a little bit of that, but is this something that could be in part of it? What you were saying right there with Nunez? Yeah, I mean he definitely, his runs scare other people, his opponents. I mean, I think he's assessed his actual thought process of setting up plays has drastically improved. I mean, I think that he really is he's got everything going for him except for that last final bit, scoring a fucking easy ass goal. I mean, and that's the only thing that he can't do. I mean, it's all this other stuff like that. I mean, he scores world class goals and all that, but he can't just simply go there and just head a ball into the box. I mean, without hitting the bar. I mean, as I said right there, every time you turn around to it, it's you have to actually try to hit the bar 4 times in a match. I mean, that's I mean, I have no answers for it right there. I like Nunez. I mean, I know that we get the reputation of the anti Nunez Thursday night crowd and stuff like that, but we're really not. I mean, I think all of us right there, think that he's got lots of value to him. I mean, I think that, we know that he's Mo's preferred partner on that front. I mean, but guys score these easy fucking goals. Quit giving us ammunition right there to actually go and criticize your play. I mean, when you've got all these other good things, like I was saying before, things with Holland, you have a player right there who only has one aspect, of scoring goals, and he does it well. But all the other part right there is, he doesn't do the link-up play. He doesn't do all these other bits and pieces right there that Nunez provides. So if Nunez could come there and get that one thing honed down, be a world beater. I think probably the best forward in the world at the moment.
Trevor, the thing that disappointed me the most, obviously, was the penalty. It's a free shot from 12 yards out, and you only have to pick a spot and hit it. And then most of the time, I think the statistic is 75-78% of the time, you're going to score. The other percentage, you're going to miss. And then I think the lowest percentage is the goalkeeper saves it. So you either hit it over the bar most of the time, and then finally the goalkeeper saves it. That slim little margin there, though, of hitting the bar from a well-placed shot. There has been talk before on the rumor mills that there are certain let's be honest, American forces that are not soccer people who want the goals in soccer to be increased to create more goals. If they did that, would Nunez still be hitting the bar?
I think there's some sort of just weird magnetism in his delivery that would find the bar regardless. All these crossbar challenge videos, they just need to go get Nunez and put him all to shame, because that's the way he's finding creative ways to hit the woodwork. And like we're talking about the penalty, gets the keeper to go the wrong way. His earlier times hitting the woodwork in the game was he just kicked the ever-living crap out of the ball, and it just swerved and went to the bar. This one, calm, measured, placed it in the right spot, got the keeper to commit early, and still hits the outside of the bar. It's got to be just it's a meme to him at this point. There's no way that he's this. I don't want to say impotent, but just able to hit the bar in so many different fashions. I don't know if he has some sort of weird mental checklist of, all right, I'm gonna hit the bar with a Rabona today. I'm gonna hit it with a penalty next week. I'm going to do a scorpion kick and hit the bar. I don't know if he has just the world's most frustrating bingo card in his head that he needs to just tick all the boxes before the end of the season, but he seems well on his way. And everybody could clip whatever they want from this show out of context and make us seem like the Darwin hater brigade. But it is something where we really we try to take everything that he does well in a vacuum of, yes, we know that he pulls so much of the defense to him when he makes those driving runs into the box. His work with Diaz over the past, even when Diaz has been struggling, he kind of just keeps him in the game. So Diaz isn't just sitting over there sulking on the left-hand side, feeling useless. Nunez almost goes out of his way sometimes to get those 1-2s with him, just so he stays in the rhythm of the game, and it pays dividends with Diaz getting the ball in, and then this past thing, getting his goal, which was huge, I think, for his confidence. So Nunez does great things, and he's been we kind of gave him crap with the pressing last season. That's been 100% better this year. So there's so much good to say. Just put the ball in the back of the fucking net. That's and it seems hyper simplistic to say, but if you're going to be, like we keep saying, if you are going to be the main striker for Liverpool FC with the lineage of strikers that we have at this club, just score a sitter now and again. Have a ball just come off, hit you in the face, and it goes in. Just not have that. Just one. I think he just needs that one. And he's had a couple opportunities where he gets those little tap ins, and we think this is the start of it. I think he needs one to just like hit him in the head, possibly knock him unconscious for about 4 seconds, and as he's coming to, just realizes, I don't feel like I want to hit the bar anymore. And he has like his Office Space moment where it's been knocked out of his head, and then the therapist dies, so they can't turn that off. And now he doesn't want to hit the woodwork anymore. And we move forward, and we're all joyous for it.
Hey, maybe we can figure out his goal impotence with American Scouser's 70s porn music.
Could be. But also, maybe he's a little bit ill. Maybe he's anemic. So Alan says Nunez is like a wrecking ball. He scares the crap out of the opposition defenders, and he does. We've said that every time we've talked about him here. It's not that part of his game that we have an issue with. You should pick the winning lottery numbers this week, but it's that scoring thing. But Brian, as Trevor says, there is a good lineage of Liverpool strikers going all the way back to Shankly's time with Roger Hunt and St. John, or St. John if you were on the BBC in those days, through to Keegan and Toshak, and then Dalglish and Rush, Fowler, Michael Owen and Heskey, Torres, Andy Carroll. No, obviously not Andy Carroll, but Suarez and Sturridge, and now Mane, Salah, when they floated in between that number 9 position, and Firmino when he was the false 9. I mean, there's such a good lineage of strikers and goal scorers at Liverpool in our history that we kind of put maybe a little bit more on the number 9 shirt than maybe we should. But at the same time, it's not like he's not getting chances. It's that he's missing the easiest ones. Do you foresee, like, the way Suarez was hitting the post in 2012, and then once he came back from his ban, he was just scoring for free in 2013 and 14. Is Nunez likely to take the same path, or is this just the quirk to his game?
Right now, I'm kind of on the fence. I mean, I don't know what the next manager is going to do as far as formations goes too. I mean, that could change a lot of his aspect. I mean, if we set right there and have like 3 attacking midfielders behind him, or have him set up with a number 10 beside him. I mean, there's so many different things you could do to him that change with him. I mean, look at the Heskey-Owen partnership that you had. I mean, where you had Heskey doing the grunt work and doing that work. Michael Owen basically came in with the finesse work and got the goals. I mean, sometimes even more applauded than what the work that Heskey did. I mean, we had Fowler and Owen together, which really never quite worked out well because you both had 2 finesse forwards. I mean, so it just depends on where you get. I mean, I think that Nunez definitely has it in him. I mean, because you can see how he played in the Portuguese league. I mean, he was a whole different type of player. I mean, from now going over to where you see him with us, I mean, I just don't know what he really needs to do. I mean, I'm just kind of dumbfounding. I mean, is it just the basic drills, the basic things that he needs to accomplish? I mean, because again, he's got all these other things that are already straight to make him a world-class forward, except for that last thing. Kill easy simple finishes that he can't do. So I mean, maybe it's a middle thing, like people say. I mean, those are things right there. I mean, Fords are pretty temperamental folk. I mean, they go on a cold streak. They could be on that cold streak for months. I mean, right there. I mean, look at Rashford. That's a prime example. I mean, of a forward right there who was in a hot streak last season, and now I don't even know what to make him as a player right now. I mean, he's out there nightclubbing in Belfast or Dublin, where he was at when he should have been with the club. I mean, it's two different things that you can think of. I mean, and I hope that Nunez can get this behind him and move forward, and actually do it. But if he doesn't right there, I mean, possibly foresee Nunez's time at this club to be kind of limited.
So in terms of moving forward, there's probably no better time to do it than against these chaps here. Coming up on Sunday at 11:30 Eastern Standard Time, I believe. We will probably have some sort of pre and post match for that. But Trevor, we talk about it, bouncing off his face, going in off the back of his heel when he's not looking or something like that. But in the end, what really matters is against Chelsea and a Chelsea that's falling apart almost sometimes at the seams, you're going to be able to get away with hitting the post 4 times. But Arsenal are maybe not title contenders in the same way we are, but they're still a serious team worth worrying about. Those misses in a game like that could be the difference between 3 points, 1 point, and no points whatsoever, couldn't they?
Yeah, that Arsenal is a team that is going to try to overwhelm you with their opportunities, because they can be just as wasteful as Nunez is. So it's kind of a war of attrition there of who can make the most of good opportunities and not screw them up as much, because they have plenty of guys that fluff their lines a lot of times too. And I don't want it to be something where we're going to kind of hold him as a scapegoat if it comes to Sunday and he misses another sitter, because I don't think it's a point anymore where he really holds his head. And even though he had the surrender Koba as his little graphic there, and that will kind of be a lot of the image that is emblazoned a lot of fans' heads of him after yet another miss. But he is a guy that has kind of gotten it out of his game to just cry and pout when he misses. Now he'll have those things where if the ball goes out of play, he will do the whole that whole gimmick. But he's really gotten, and I don't know who's gotten into his ear about that, of when those things happen, he kind of just stays in the flow of play. And that is something that Arsenal does not do. They have a lot of finger pointing. They have a lot of guys that, and we always go back to that, a lack of leadership on that team. And I'm sure we'll talk about that in some regard shortly. But I think Chelsea didn't have their first shot on target till like 50-minute mark or something like that.
It was a goal, wasn't it?
I think they got like a cursory, maybe in like stoppage time, where they just they got a ball that Alisson basically just caught. And I think it was Fernandez that just tried to like hit a piss missile from like 60 yards out or something, and Alisson's just like, okay, that was funny.
Pissile.
Yes, the old pissile. And then Arsenal is going to ask a lot more questions of our defense, and I think we're going to be up to the task. But as always, the more opportunities you give the other team, the more opportunities there is for something to go wrong. And where Chelsea kind of left us to our own devices in terms of getting forward and kind of trying to work out the kinks, I don't think Arsenal will be as lenient in that regard. So I think we do need to once again score early and then force them to kind of fall apart. So I think an early goal is really big. Just get them in their own head and watch them unravel.
Brian, let's look at the table here, the top five, and it's kind of ended up what we kind of maybe thought it would be at the start of this season, or maybe about 10 weeks into the season. But we're top by 5 points, although City have a game in hand, and we are also 5 points ahead of Arsenal. It's coming into the busy season. The final stretch will be coming up rapidly because it's going to be Valentine's Day in about 2 weeks. To remind everybody about it, and then it'll be Easter for people who celebrate it, like in March. Like that, we'll be heading to the end of the league after that. So at this point of the game, we talked pre-Christmas, we talked even just a little bit after Christmas that the league isn't going to be won then, but it can be lost. It can definitely be lost at this point of the year. A win over Arsenal, it's not only super necessary now, but it might kick them into touch as far as being title contenders. Do you think?
I think if we beat Arsenal, I think you might as well knock Arsenal out of the contention right there with of winning the league. I think it's still going to be determined right there with what City is going to do. I think a lot of the signs will be that beginning part of March when we actually play City, and then we play Everton right afterwards. So on that's going to be that's going to be pretty much a telltale sign right there. So we're only a couple of weeks out right there to figure out how this is going to wind up shaking out. As far as Arsenal goes, we talked about right there, about the leadership right there that Trevor was mentioning on there. I think that there's a serious lack of leadership in that squad. I don't rate Gabriel Jesus, and I guess that Pep didn't rate him either because he sold him. And I think that they struggled against Nottingham Forest. They had the Forest gave them a tough time, and I think that that all the things with that they were supposed to solve with their midfield, they really did with Declan Rice for you there. They didn't solve anything. So I think that Odegaard, class. Everyone, you can't really knock the class that he has right there. But even Martinelli has kind of faded a little bit off on there, and I think the Saka right there runs, and I don't see the finished product with Saka. That was like he was supposed to be the golden boy in this England side eventually right there, but I just don't see it. And I think that they're not in the same aspect of being title contenders. And even if we draw this match, I still think that Arsenal probably is pretty much will be out of this window unless they actually beat us in this match. If they don't win, then I think you might as well toss them aside.
Trevor, Alan makes the point that could Conor Bradley be player of the month, and we've spoken about him already, and he has played himself into a headache. Let's put into a Klopp headache. But if you're managing this team, how do you go with what's available right now? How do you line up against Arsenal away, who desperately need the 3 points as much as us, and they need it to set a marker down as much as anything else to say that they are genuine contenders. But as Brian said, they are not elite. They are a rudderless ship. Martin Odegaard is a class player. I wouldn't put him anywhere near contention for a class captain or leader. I think he's the guy who organizes the tickets, and that's probably about it. And he's certainly no Roy Keane, and nor is Declan Rice, because he's a turncoat, and he could tell you're great 1 second and then turn around and join Spurs, because that's what he does, the swine. But Trevor, how do you line up? We're going to assume Alisson in goal, but how do you go back to front, defenders, midfield, attack for this game?
I think just with the opponent in mind, I think Klopp's going to go back to his tried and true back line. It's going to be Trent, Konate, Virgil, and then Robertson. He may not give those guys like a full 90. I think, especially with Trent and Robbo, I don't think he necessary. It's not a lack of confidence. It's just a self-preservation tactic at this point. We'll probably definitely see if they're in the match day squad. Well, Gomez will be in the match day squad, but we'll if Bradley is still part of it with the names that are coming back into contention. I think a final half an hour of Bradley and Gomez to see out a 1 or 2 goal lead is kind of what you'd want anyways. You have the more defensive minded players in there, and they are also with this past month. Now they have that internal confidence with themselves to say they see a break, to not just go, oh, we're in here to do a defensive job. They will start that break and kind of put that foot on Arsenal's throat late on if they see the opportunity. Whereas kind of in the past, if we're bringing on substitutions, it is to just kind of be more compact and astute defensively. Now these guys are kind of getting into it where they don't necessarily feel like they just gotta they're not parking the bus, but they are just driving it slowly around the lot. But yeah, to answer the question, I think it's going to be Trent, Konate, Virgil, and Robertson. But I think probably 3 of our 5 substitutions will be in the back line.
How about your midfield and attack, Trevor? I mean, we're good, but we're not that good.
No, but I think this is a game where we're gonna kind of, because of what is coming up after this, we're going to be able to kind of give a few more starts to the different players in the midfield and attack. We're not going to have to just run out the same 3 in each level going through, where you can kind of have a bit of a rotation. So I think giving a full 90 to Darwin or Jota may not be the worst thing in the world, but until we see fully healthy things, we may have to just deal with the same 3 in each section again, and hope that nobody gets hurt.
Brian, back to front, back 4, midfield 3, front 3. How would you go if you making the decision?
If I had to make a decision right now, I'll see Allison behind in the goal. I'd go Robertson at left, and then Verge and Konate, and I would stick with Bradley. I mean, right now, I think that we need to go in there and let Trent go in there and actually get his completely back to full fitness. I mean, he got a good run out right there in this match against Chelsea. I mean, and they're going to need him toward the line, and I think that Bradley's in a good run of form at the moment. As far as my midfield, I would say Macka in the middle, and I'd probably have Swabazai on the right side and Jones on the left. And my front 3, I would start with Diaz, Nunez, and Jota, and with Gapco coming in toward the middle to relieve Nunez toward the middle part right there. But I think that will be enough to go there and get by. I think that Harvey will probably eventually go back in right there for Slabazai right there in that spot. And I think that Trent will probably go there and get a run out, and Gomez will get a run out like probably about the 60th minute, where Klopp likes to go there and make his sub set.
Brian, give me a score prediction, and then we'll go to Trevor. But also, give me a score prediction and give me the scores for this one.
I'm going with 3-1. I think you're going to have a Jota brace, and I think that Diaz right there will score. And I think that on the 1 right there, I think that that Martinelli is going to go out there and is going to give a goal, put a goal in that we're going to fucking be pissed off about. And I think that will be our finish. So 3-1.
Trevor, score prediction and scorers.
I'm gonna go 2-1, and we're gonna get a Darwin header. He's gonna hit the bar twice though before that header, so he's gonna stay on brand. And the other one is going to come from a set piece, especially in my head if Robertson's back. It's going to come from one of his corners, and pick your poison. Virgil Konate are going to get the second one, and then I think there's going to just be an Arsenal pinball special. We'll just say the guy that we've been crapping on the entire time, Odegaard. He gets it. It kind of just falls to him, and he side foots it in between 17 players from both sides, and it goes in. And yeah, that's the goal to piss us off. Odegaard getting a commentators yelling because they don't know who has the ball type of goal.
Alan said a bit earlier, Arsenal repeatedly dropped points during February. So my score prediction was, I'm not going to give any lineups because I always forget who's injured. So I'd probably name all the injured players. But score prediction, I am going to go with 3-0. And Darwin Nunez will score in the first 5 minutes. Luis Diaz will get one, and Jota will get the other. And then if we're all good boys and girls, God, the universe, Buddha, George Hamilton IV, whoever's in charge of it, will give Gomez his goal finally against Arsenal away. But 3-0 is my score because I just have a feeling that our back four is, if Conor Bradley does play, if we still hold Trent off, or maybe even play him in the 6 and put McAllister up with Szoboszlai in the attacking midfield, box to box, I think the back four will be tight. And they won't let anything through, because the problem with Arsenal's pinball is that the ball always ends up back where it started, just like pinball, back to the goalkeeper. And that's what I love about that Lego head style of soccer. It looks fantastic. It's not always effective. So that is my prediction. There's no fantasy show tonight because the two boys are ill. Apparently sick of the sight of us before each of their shows, probably, I would guess. But just remains to say, as always, to make sure that you are liking and subscribing, following us on the YouTube, following us on the Facebook and the Instagram, and then also the Twitter, formerly known as X. Give that button of liking and subscribing a good old smash.
Like and subscribe. Smash that like button.
Except if you're a Thursday night fan, tap it very gently. It's nearly the weekend and it's loud. Don't want to wake up the neighbors. But we do want you to follow us on everything, find out what we're doing, join the Discord channel, subscribe so you can know when we have more content, and we have a lot of it, and probably a lot more content than other Liverpool podcasts out there, or indeed any club's podcasts, and it's all good quality stuff. But obviously the handsomest and the bestest stuff is on Thursdays. This is for the ladies. Is on Thursdays with us boys here. And it just remains to say thank you, Brian. Thank you, Trevor. And with this kind of imagery to put you all off to sleep, it just remains to say, here comes the 70s porn.